All right, so let's take a look at that example that I was pointing out earlier, right? That indexing not always works, right? Now, it doesn't always improve performance, especially if you're doing indexing on fields that are not unique, right? For instance, like the major ID. And as we were hinting at this earlier, depends on what the ratio is between the number of students that you might have and the number of majors that are spread out over the multiple majors, right? So, for instance, let's lower the number of departments, right? We had 40 departments earlier with 40,000 students, and so that ended up being 1,000 students per department. Now, what if you had 5 times less departments, right? So instead of have 40 departments, you only have 8 departments. That would mean now that you have 5,000 students, right? 5,000 students instead per department instead of 1,000 students per department. That means, notice that what's going to happen here. Remember that before the 1,000 blocks that we were reading, right? The thousand reads that we were doing earlier, right, is now going to be bumped up to 5,000 reads, right? Which is going to be actually worse than the 4,000 blocks that we had to do if this were just linear search. Okay. Again, it's because, right, in the when you're doing the non-unique ones, right, and how many of those non-unique indexes, right, are referring to the original records, right? Before it was only referencing 1,000 students, right? There's in major ID 20, how many students there are? Well, there's 1,000 students per department. Well, I have 1,000 references. But here, because we are now referencing 5,000 students, they're going to be in general 5,000 reads, right? Which is actually going to be worse than the original 4,000 if you were just doing linear search. So ideally here you would avoid indexing that non-unique index, right? You would just prefer to just do linear search when you're doing searches by a non-unique key, right? So here's again an illustration of the problem, right? Again, on the left-hand side, we're using just linear search and just iterating 4,000 reads, whereas on the right-hand side, because department number 20 is referencing 5,000 different records, you're going to have to read 5,000 times those same blocks, right? Oftentimes, you're going to do multiple reads of the same block, so it can get very, very inefficient.